I want you to forget about your fancy edtech companies for just one moment. Because, in fact, the old pencil and paper worksheet machine at Kumon might just be the most hated educational company in history. And I mean hated. Properly, generationally hated. Someone somewhere was angry enough about a maths worksheet company to sit down, write, record and release an explicit diss track about it.
Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks, Kumon sucks. Depression to your brain.
And this isn't even a one-off. There's a whole little genre of this. There's a creator called I'm Secret, whose video is just called Dear Kumon, You Suck. Go into any of these comment sections and the mood is, let's say, settled. One student. Kumon is almost like going to another school, but worse. So, they've managed to take school, already most children's least favourite building, and invent a worse one, and then charge parents for it. Another student said, as someone who has experienced this, it sucks, it's repetitive, boring, and after we go home, we get homeworks daily. The experiences of Kumon contradict each other too. One student says the place is chaos. There's a lot of students in the Kumon I go to, and everyone talks all day, and the best part, the instructors just don't care for most of the time because there's just too much to manage. And then another kid describes the exact opposite. At my Kumon, the teacher would yell at the kids for not doing it fast as a bullet. So, depending on which one you got sent to, it was either a free-for-all or a boot camp. Someone else just remembered, a kid at my old primary school broke down in tears over having to go to Kumon. The crying being over the homework you pay extra for. And then there's a Reddit thread of people who all separately googled, why is the Kumon logo sad? One of them wrote, I go there from 3rd grade to 5th grade and holy crap. Every time my mum drove me over there, I had this exact face while staring out the window, knowing I was going to be forced into an hour and a half of math after just going to school all day. Another said the logo always looks to me like the face of a kid whose disappointed father is telling them to get smart. Come on, kids, learn stuff. So that's the case for the prosecution, and it is damning. Now, if you've never been to a Kumon, the YouTuber I'm Secret explains it better than I ever could.
It looks like a school from the outside, but it's actually an offline IXL in the inside. They just give you a worksheet, a pencil if you forgot yours, and you do it, alright? No talking, no interactions, you just work.
And then he says to think that this whole video is going to come back too.
It might sound crazy, but I would rather do IXL than go into Kumon, to be honest.
Yes, he said he'd rather do IXL. So, hold this question in your head, because by the end of this video, we're going to answer it properly. Is Kumon really worse than IX bloody L? When you think about the silence and the sheer repetition of Kumon, well, yes, you can see how it produced a diss track. And yet, does it actually deserve one? Because I have a confession. I did Kumon as a kid. And then, years later, skin tanned at university, I went back as a teaching assistant. So, I've been the kid filling in the boxes, and I've been the one behind the desk handing them out. So, let me defend Kumon for just a minute. Because originally, it didn't start as a franchise. It actually started at a kitchen table. 1954, Osaka. A maths teacher called Toru Kumon, whose son Takeshi had come home with a slightly disappointing test. So Toru starts handwriting him little worksheets, a small amount every day, nudging the difficulty up a notch at a time. And by a few months into year 6, Takeshi is reportedly doing calculus. A dad, a kitchen table, a stack of homework sums done out of the love of his own kids. And the line this whole video hangs off is Toru's own. He says, the primary strength of the Kumon method is, above all, advancing beyond school grade level. So, that's important. Kumon is about getting ahead. That was the founder's actual pitch. Take a kid who could already swim and teach them to go out further than the rest. It was never meant to be for the kids who were already struggling in school. And here's the part about Kumon that I can't pretend away. For me, it worked. I was never the top at maths in my year. Plenty of other kids were certainly sharper than me. But mental maths? I was the best by a mile. And that was nothing to do with my innate ability. That was to do with Kumon. That repetition just drilled into my skull. Which is exactly why what I saw from the other side of the desk has stuck with me. Because for every kid like me, there was another kid it wasn't working for. And years later, working at the centre, those were the ones I couldn't stop stop noticing. With the older ones, Key Stage 3 and up, they're meant to work it out independently, so I wasn't allowed to teach them. So even if a kid was properly stuck, I couldn't explain it to them. And I'm not the only former Kumon employee to notice this. In the words of this former worker, I was not allowed to help. The poor girl was just told to keep practicing. And the kids feel it too. One current student wrote, "It's a common occurrence to see young children, no older than 9, loudly sobbing while the employees try to quiet them. More often than not, they're just told they're making too much noise." They went on, "I've talked to people about when they broke down at Kumon, cried at Kumon, hurt themselves at Kumon, but never had any positive moments at Kumon." Now, those stories are admittedly awful, but they're also kind of missing the point about what Kumon is actually meant to be. In the words of this former employee, Kumon is an enrichment center, so it's meant for those who want to get ahead of their grade. It's a cool concept, but it's not what every kid wants to do, nor is it something a parent should force their children to do if they're not interested. Moreover, some parents sign their kids up for Kumon because they're falling behind. In those cases, their child has some bigger problem that we are just not qualified to solve. That comment, in my mind, is 100% correct, so let me explain. Kumon is a drill. You take a kid who already gets it and grind until they get it fast and cold and then miles ahead. That's what it's for. That's what worked on me. Yet, what it cannot do is teach. Have any of you guys done Kumon, and what do you think of it? I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts, so please let me know in that comment section below. The whole model is built on the kid working it out alone from the examples. Brilliant if they can, quietly miserable if they can't. Quick one, while we're on the subject of maths, most of you guys watching this aren't subscribed. The button is free, it's one click, and it allows me to keep making videos like this. A huge number of the kids who hate Kumon most were sent there because they were behind. A parent panics. The kid's struggling at school, so off to the maths place they go. And yet, the maths place is the one place on earth that this child should not go. It can't help a kid who's behind because it drills, it doesn't teach. So a drowning kid gets handed more water with a stopwatch running. And the really maddening bit is that this centre had every reason to take that kid anyway. Because this is the bit where the humble kitchen table and the nice origin story becomes a business. Yes, there's nothing quite like money to completely ruin education. Anyway, Kumon is a franchise now, and in the UK, becoming an instructor, the person put in charge of your maths, needs a degree in anything at all, a couple of weeks of training, and a few grand. No teaching qualification, no maths degree. Kumon says so itself. It does not demand that franchise owners have educational experience or qualifications. And the centre survives on how many paying students it keeps. So, when a struggling kid walks in, the incentive was never to send that family to a proper tutor. It's to keep them there in Kumon forever. And for the kids kept in the wrong place, the cost adds up. And what they've written about it is genuinely hard to read. One girl explains the code word she and her friend had for Kumon. The dungeon. She wrote plainly, "Kumon makes me depressed." Another kid, replying to a younger one having a hard time, wrote, "You need to get professional help. I've been on Kumon for 5 years and still hate it. It even kickstarted my depression. It's outdated, obsolete, and unsafe. Get away from it the moment you can. If not, we are here for you." And one review just put the warning on the tin. Like your mental health? Too bad, throw it out the window by doing Kumon. Do not traumatize yourself and stay out of Kumon. And there's something else that makes it land harder now than it ever did. Most of the kids writing these reviews are Generation Alpha. These are kids raised on a screen that feeds them something new every few seconds that has never once asked them to be bored. Then they're dropped into a silent room with a pencil, a pile of identical sums, and nothing but their own thoughts. And that, to them, is genuinely unbearable. Being left alone with their own head for 90 minutes is about the most uncomfortable thing you could ask of them. Right then, does Kumon deserve the hate? For the right kid, keeping up, keen to get ahead, it genuinely works. I guess I'm the proof. It's a drill, and a drill is a brilliant thing to own, as long as a drill is all you actually needed. For the wrong kid, behind, lost, handed the answer to copy into a box, it does worse than fail. It tells that kid every single day that they're the broken one, when all that happened is that they were given the wrong tool for them as an individual. If you are behind and metaphorically drowning, then what you need isn't Kumon. Rather, it's a human who teaches. A tutor, a good teacher, someone who will explain the why until it clicks. Get to the middle of the class with a person first. Then, if you want to get ahead, the Kumon worksheets earn their place. A tutor to catch up, Kumon to get ahead. Almost everyone seems to do it the other way around and then wonder why it hurts. And if it is the wrong tool and your parents genuinely just want the best for you, then maybe sit them down and show them this video. Because if your parents are sending you to Kumon, then they do indeed care about your education. It's just that Kumon in this case may not necessarily be the right solution. Anyway, back to where we started. Is Kumon really worse than IXL? Well, in my opinion, no. Because for all its faults, the silence, the repetition, Kumon for the right kid actually does something. It takes an average kid who wants to get better and it gets them ahead. And in a world where children are fed an endless drip of stimulation, where their attention is sliced into 3-second pieces, sitting in a quiet room with a pencil and your own thoughts might be the closest thing to an antidote we've got. IXL, on the other hand, is the opposite of that. It's another screen, another feed, another app keeping a kid's eyes locked to a glowing rectangle. And it's the one being sued in a federal class action over harvesting and selling children's data. I'm Secret called Kumon offline IXL, like the offline part was the insult. But offline is actually the whole point. Offline is the bit that can't follow you home, can't track you, can't keep you scrolling past midnight. IXL is part of the problem. Kumon, for the right kid at the right center, might just be part of the solution. For the wrong kid, however, it's still miserable, and unfortunately there seem to be a lot of wrong kids. And for the people saying, where is Lucky? Lucky! Lucky, hey boy, hello. Here he is. Come to say hello. People have been wondering where you are, okay? They're missing you. People miss you, okay? You're very loved. You're very loved. Okay? Come on, Lucky. There we go. Say hello to everyone, Lucky. Say hello. My Lucky. My Lucky. Smash that like button if you made it to the end, Snipe Army. I really appreciate it. It helps boost the video. See you for the next one. Snipe, snap, out.